Nobody warns you that getting an ADHD diagnosis means you're going to grieve. And not the diagnosis itself, the people. The friend who slowly stopped replying. The relationship that ended because they swore you just didn't care. The family member who still tells the story of the time you forgot, like it's proof of who you are. You finally get an answer for why your brain works the way it does. And then you have to sit with everyone that answer came too late for. This is the grief nobody puts in the brochure. The grief of realizing undiagnosed ADHD was quietly shaping your relationships for years, and you never even knew it was there. Here's what happens when you get diagnosed late. Overnight, your entire relationship history gets a new subtitle. Every "you're so flaky," every "why don't you ever text back," every "you're too much, too sensitive, you clearly don't care about me." All of it reorganizes around one fact you didn't have before: there was a reason. You weren't careless, you weren't cold. You had an undiagnosed condition affecting your memory, your attention, your emotions, and nobody, including you, knew. That should feel like pure relief. And it does, for a minute. But right behind the relief is something heavier, because if there was a reason, then maybe those relationships didn't have to go the way they went. And that's where the grief starts. Let's talk about the friendships first, because those are the ones that usually go quietly. Nobody breaks up with a friend, they just fade. You meant to text back, you really did. You saw the message, you thought "I'll reply later," and then your brain filed it somewhere you couldn't find again, and 3 weeks went by, and now it felt too awkward to answer at all. You forgot the birthday. You double-booked the plans. You canceled last minute, again. And from the outside, all of that looks like one thing: you don't care. But you did care. You cared so much you still think about these people years later. The distance you created had nothing to do with how you felt, and everything to do with a brain that couldn't hold the thread. Romantic relationships are where it gets louder. Maybe you were the partner who forgot the thing you promised, again, and watched their face fall. Maybe you interrupted, talked over them, not because you didn't respect them, but because your brain was sprinting and you were terrified the thought would vanish if you didn't say it now. Maybe they started to feel like they were carrying everything: the planning, the remembering, the emotional labor, and you couldn't understand why doing your half felt impossible when you wanted to so badly. And maybe there were the outbursts. Reactions way bigger than the moment called for, that left both of you confused about where that even came from. None of that was a character flaw. A lot of it was undiagnosed ADHD executive function, emotional regulation, running underneath the whole time, without a name. And then there's the part almost nobody talks about, the one that quietly did the most damage: rejection sensitivity. For a lot of us with ADHD, criticism doesn't land like criticism, it lands like a verdict. A slightly short text becomes "they're done with me." A neutral face becomes "I've done something unforgivable." And when rejection feels that catastrophic, you protect yourself in ways that look, from the outside, exactly like not caring. You pull away before they can pull away from you. You go quiet. You pick the fight first. You leave the relationship in your head weeks before anything actually happens. So here's the hard part to hold. Sometimes the rejection you were terrified of, you caused, trying to avoid it. Not because you were manipulative, because your nervous system was screaming that leaving first would hurt less. So let me say the thing you might need to hear: you weren't a bad friend. You weren't cold, or selfish, or incapable of love. You were doing relationships on the hardest difficulty setting there is, with no idea the game was even set to hard. Once you can see all of this, the grief arrives in full. And it's specific. It's not abstract sadness, it's faces. It's the friend you'd give anything to text right now, but it's been 5 years and you don't know how. It's the relationship you'd handle completely differently today. It's grieving every version of you who kept hurting people you loved, then lay awake hating yourself for it, never knowing why you couldn't just do better. And there's a trap waiting here, so let me name it: the if only. If only I'd known sooner, I'd still have them. That loop runs forever, and it doesn't heal anything. You're allowed to feel the loss. You are not required to keep relitigating it. Now I want to be honest, because cheap comfort isn't comfort. Understanding ADHD is not a blanket excuse. It explains a lot, but it doesn't erase the impact your actions had, and it doesn't mean you never take responsibility. Both things are true at the same time. My brain genuinely made this harder, and I still want to own my part, and repair what I can. Self-forgiveness isn't pretending you did nothing wrong. It's stopping the punishment of someone who didn't have the information they needed, while still choosing to do better now that you do. So here's the reframe I'll leave you with. Stop picturing your past self as the broken one. Picture them for what they were: an undiagnosed person with added, doing the best they could to love people and stay close, with a brain nobody had handed them the manual for. That version of you wasn't failing. They were surviving, and the fact that it hurt them so much is the proof that they cared the whole time. The diagnosis can't go back and save those relationships. I'm not going to pretend it can. But it gives you something you've never had, the words. You can finally say to the people still in your life, this is my brain, not my feelings about you. You can catch the RSD spiral while it's happening, instead of acting on it. You can rebuild some of the bridges still standing, and let the ones that aren't be grieved, not gnawed on. Understanding your wiring doesn't undo the past, it changes what you get to do next. The relief and the grief will live together for a while, and that's okay. But hear this, the fact that you're grieving these people at all is the loudest answer to the lie you carried, that you didn't care. You cared so much it still hurts, that was never the problem. You just finally have a name for what was. If you're sitting in this grief right now, I made something for exactly this, a free late diagnosis reflection journal, and the relationships section helps you separate what your brain did from who you are, and figure out gently what's worth repairing. Links in the description. If this put words to something, the books down there go deeper. And if you want to keep working through the late diagnosis stuff together, subscribe. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.